I hope you guys enjoyed the Enforcer Cup, or once again the Gold Chip Cup. Our next CM that is announced for the mid-February will be the Capricorn Cup. This CM will be our very first sprint CM, and I hope you guys are excited for this one. Let's start off with the general information for this racetrack. This CM9 will be held in Chukyo, a 1,200-meter turf, or in-game, this racetrack is called the Takamatsu no Miyakinen, and the condition for this racetrack is left-handed, winter, sunny, and firm. There is no hidden stat bonus threshold, so you do not need to focus on any of these stats. For the CM, looking at the racetrack itself, it is a very unique track. The racetrack starts with a straight into a 775-meter long downhill, which is almost over half of the race course itself. This means that the width start is more important than ever due to the existing downhill mechanics, where you want a higher width to enter a good downhill mode that will give you more speed boost. The middle leg of the race is a bit of mix of a straight into full corners. Corner skills are very good on the CM because it is basically the middle leg skills and they only activate on the middle leg, which will help your Uma to overtake. It also has the potential for speed carryover, so skills like Professor of Curvature, Speed Star, these skills are good to take. Let's talk about the acceleration skill for this CM. Since the last part of this racetrack is a straight, this means every corner acceleration skill does not work on this CM. Yes, I am talking about Saiyans Sky Angling and Scheming, Major Orion's Pump Some Iron, and Dober's Moving Past and Beyond. All of this skill doesn't work, so do not take it. Shooting for Victory also doesn't work on this CM because it is final corner later half, so if you inherit it, the duration will not last until the final spurt. Even if you run the main Taki shuttle, her unique will also not last until the final spurt, so just keep this in mind. Redshift is the only axle that can possibly give some value, assuming you entered the 5th position a bit late. And this might be used for late surger and enclosures. The main source of acceleration for the CM is El Condor Pasas Planca and Mummy Creek's Unique. Both of these unique procs on the straight and as soon as the last spurt starts. However, both of these acceleration favors more for the frontrunner and page chasers due to their position requirement needing it to be at the front for both of the unique. Encloser also have access to straightaway spurt and encroaching shadow, since the last spurt start with a straight line. Since there is not much acceleration source for this sprint CM, in the JP and the Korean server, people are incorporating more RNG acceleration skills to make their UMA more reliable. The first source of acceleration is straight line acceleration skills. These skills are Turbo Sprint from the Bakushin card and Rushing Gale from SSR Rico. You ideally would want one of the skill in addition to your acceleration. The reason straight acceleration skill is good and is taken even though it is not consistent is because the race course only have two straights, that is at the start of the race and as soon as the late race starts. It will benefit you regardless of where it procs if it's not too late. If it procs as soon as the race starts, you can just assume it as a groundwork proc and it will give you a little bit of value. And if it procs on the late race as soon as the spurt starts, then you get the best acceleration possible and you can just win the race. There's also one more reliable acceleration skill in the game, that is Highlander. The drawback is that this acceleration skill procs on the uphill, which is about 75-meter late than the last spurt. But it is also a viable option to add on to your acceleration skill list. I would not force into getting this skill because it is pretty hard to get, but if you can grab this skill, it is a nice skill to have. Lastly, there is also always the gambling acceleration skills like on your left, head on, unity power skills, and all that. And in addition to it, for the sprint CMs, we have countermeasure or plan X from Vico Pegasus and perfect prep from the current SSR read card. Both of these skills are also gambling action skills that activate on the middle leg and you just hope that it activates a bit late nearing the last bird so you get some of the acceleration from it. There's basically no stamina requirement for the CM. You will literally just have enough stamina running what you get from the start of the career to the finish line. However, if you are really curious how much stamina is actually needed, the stamina required for the race according to the stamina calculator is roughly 300 stamina. This also assumes no downhill mode and all that, so you will have enough even with lower stamina. And with that, you don't even need to click a single stamina button on the career and you will be just fine. If you are also running Rico in your deck for easier career or for the Rushing Gale, you will just hit this 100% regardless, so you don't need to think about it. Alright, since stamina is not required, we can focus on all the other four stats. Speed, as always, get it to 1200. Guts is always the first stat to be sacrificed. You can get this as high as you want or can, but it's also just fine to leave it at like 300 or 400. Power and width is where we want to focus all of our stats in. Of course, if you can max them, it's the best, but getting it around 900 for both of the stats is the recommended stat line. I believe this is not that hard with the width maxing deck. The secret is just to have many power sparks in your parents, and you will hit the stat lines. This track is also shorter compared to the usual tracks, and with that, getting S distance is not that much of a difference in length actually. According to some old JP information, here's the difference for the length between A distance speed and S distance speed. It is like a zero point 0.5 difference of total in length. So if you are training hard Umas like Smart Falcon or the Mummy Creek, it is totally fine to leave the distance aptitude at A and they will perform fine regardless. Of course, if you can get it to S, then do it. The deck build for all these styles will be the same and there is no exception. It will be with maxing deck. Some people might prefer going pure 3 speed entry with cards, and some might prefer with 2 speed 1 Rico and 3 wit. Both of these deck versions are viable and will work just fine. As for the speed card, Kitasan will always be a slot in, Professor of Curvature is just too good to miss on. You can also borrow Pico for Plan X or Bakashin for Turbo Sprint if you want, otherwise fill the speed slot with your SR cards like Sweep Tosho. For the wit cards, there are a couple of options. If you can borrow Karan-chan for its perfect prep, or if you are running a Place Chaser, you can borrow Fine Motion for Speed Star, or if you're running Late Surger, you can borrow Nice Nature. Otherwise, just fill the wit cards with your SR cards like Major Arden for the left-handed and Page Chaser corners, Sunday for the middle leg speed skills, or the other wit cards. Alright, let's talk a bit about the meta for the CM9. Page Chaser is the strongest style for the CM. Frontrunner seems very strong, right, at a single glance, but they are actually the second best for this racetrack. The reason is because the track is very short, the early part of the race is also short, and with that, the position keeps of the race ends very early, only after about 400-meter-ish. This means that the frontrunner cannot abuse their pace up mode mechanics by a lot like they usually do on the longer racetracks, and due to this, pace chasers that are very well built or have a very strong middle leg unique can easily overtake the front runners. This also means that a runaway Suzuka Ace is actually dead, like unplayable, because she cannot abuse the runway mechanics to make a lead further ahead by the start of the race. And by the time the position keeps end, she will be easily overtaken by the frontrunners and pace chaser behind her. Here is even a funny example of a runaway Suzuka that cannot accelerate to abuse its runaway mechanics and just gets overtaken by Falco from the start of the race. Since the position keep ended so soon, Suzuka didn't even get a chance to create the lead from its mechanic and just straight up loses. Front runners also lose their advantage of usually having angling and scheming as their best source of acceleration because normally it would activate earlier. On this CM, since frontrunner and page chaser need to rely on the same acceleration skill, which is Alcondor Pasa's unique and Mummy Creek's unique, they are about the same strong. Late surgers will be weaker due to the fact of not having a consistent source of acceleration source, and we need to rely on the gambling acceleration skills like always. And closers have somewhat the same issue with late surger, but they still have access to straightaway spurt, which make it plays a bit better than the late surgers. Let's talk about the recommended UMA for each style and their strategy. For DCM, the strongest frontrunner will be Smart Falcon. Falcon just have a really good unique. If it activates on the early race, good. You can keep the lead and it will act as a bonus speed and you will secure your Victoria Porflanca and Mummy Creek's unique. Another thing is also Smart Falcon Unique can also activate on a straight on the last spurt if it didn't activate early on in the race. This Unique gives you an insane speed boost and acceleration on top of it, making your Falco will just fly to the finish line. So she is naturally just one of the best pick for frontrunners, specifically for the CM. El Condor Pasas will also be one of the other strong frontrunners. You can also run it as pace chasers, but the activation spot for her unique is the first and second position. So if you're confident in stacking the middle leg skills, you can also make her as a pace chaser. As always, when it comes to sprint distance racetrack, Bakushin O just shine. You can run her as a frontrunner or pace chaser as well. Her unique is very good for this track too. She also has innate turbo sprint, so it frees up a support card slot and you can borrow other cards like Karen Chan with card or Vico Pegasus. Moving on to the Pace Chasers, the top picks will be Karen Chan, Hishi Akebono, and Mami Creek. Karen Chan is like the Thanos for the Pace Chaser in this CM. If she activates her unique, chances are you are never going to catch the Karen. Just add in a bit of middle leg skills, aka corner skills like Speed Star, Professor of Curvature, and make her go wild. You can also run frontrunners like Suzuka that will cast out before the last spurt for Karen to take over and guarantee her unique. On top of that, Karen also has a speed debuff gold skill if you want to run her as a debuffer, but that's cringe as hell, and I recommend just going in full speed and make her win. I like Karen, so I will just make her win. Next on the list, there is Mummy Creek. The same reason as running Pasa, there is not much to explain. It has one of the best unique for this CM. The only drawback is, once again, it has G aptitude on sprint, so you will need tons of sprint sparks to make her work. And which I'm pretty sure most of you out there will not have it to make it work. The last page chaser that is really strong is Hishi Akebono. Hishi Akebono Unique also provides you with speed and acceleration, but the condition is more relaxed than current, which is at the third to fifth position. If you activate it too early, it will help you overtake to activate Planka and Mami Creek's unique. If you activate it a bit late, it also have a little bit carryover potential like current's unique, so it is pretty good. Late gamblers is basically forced to take your usual gambling pills like on your left, late activation redshift, and those straight acceleration skills. But if it hits as per usual. And so the recommended Uma for this style is King Halo and Kawakami Princess. Otherwise, you can also force the other style Umas into late surgers and it will work, but I do not see any reason why when pace, front end, and closer are way stronger styles. King Hollow is actually not that good, because her unique is very bad to activate. It literally needs you to have to be in the 4th to 6th position with 200 meters left in the last spurt. If you are this behind, chances are you already lose. The only thing going for King Hollow is that she is very easy to build because of her A aptitude on sprint and she is just a late surger. Kawakami Princess has a pretty decent unique, certainly better than King Hollow, and she has some better innate skills for late surger, so she is a better option by a huge margin. Despite that, Kawakami also has a D aptitude, so you need a little bit of sprint spark to fix this. Also, apparently, Kawakami Princess gets a free Highlander skill if she wins her goal race for the Japanese Oaks race, so you have a guaranteed Highlander, which is very hard to get for all the other Umas. Most of the encloser have bad aptitudes, besides Hishi Amazon and Narita Taishin, so these two are the only actual options. Hishi Amazon is decent, but definitely not the best. Taishin is the potential Uma that has encroaching shadow and can work, but the only problem with Taishin is that Taishin careers have long races like Kikukasho and Tenosho Spring, and you will literally do not have enough stamina to run the race and just lose the career runs. That is unless you go Guts build on Taishin, which is also viable to a certain extent. I made a special section for Christmas over here Christmas Oguri has the same problem with the Arimaki CM. It has awkward recoveries for the unique proc if you run it as a pace chaser, late surger, or an closer. You once again have to gamble where it procs. And also, running three recoveries on sprint is super cringe where those three recovery skills could be a three speed skills. One of the more consistent Christmas Ogre build is the frontrunner Christmas Ogre. We will rely on the recovery skill Moxie, but with this build, it will activate 75-meter late due to Moxie's activation being on the uphill, and if you have learned a thing or two from the Arimakin and CM, those late activations might be a bust on most races. The team composition for this sprint CM is really straightforward. There is not much variation. The first setup will be really popular in solo Oshi comms or setup comms. You will run a runway Suzuka that just dies to set up for your pace chaser overtake, or some Uma that can benefit from this. The prime example for this setup is, of course, Karen Chan. The next setup will be one of the best setup as well, which is two fronts and one pace chaser. There's not really much explanation needed for this setup. Two fronts so they can do their thing and do spot struggle, and pace chasers as your backup ace. You can run any pace chaser that you like. Oji Okurikan, Hishi Akebono, Karan Chan, they all work just fine. The last setup is the chopper setup. That is, I don't care about the meta and I just slam in my three girls, hope they perform well and win the race. You can put in any of your favorite Uma or Uma that you think are strong and just hope you win. I think sprint CMs are really straightforward. This CM is definitely more of a gambly type of CM, where the one who procs their correct straight gamble extraction skill can just win the CM. One last tip, also if you are pulling pace chasers, try to get a lot of middle leg skills like the corner skills so you can overtake the front runners. Anyways, that's all for the Capricorn Cup. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.